All right, welcome everybody. Today I have Dawn, when did we do our last interview? Like 3, 4 years ago?
Well, technically, it's been a couple of years, but when I was on Jeranism, you popped on once, and we talked a little bit about the Trump assassination attempts, possibly a staged and planned event, false flag, and we were in agreement with that.
Yep. All right, well, so tell us what you want to talk about today. This is going to be very interesting.
Thank you very much, Dave, and it's nice to see you again. And so this is a little complicated, and it's literally regarding the creation story and how it's been interpreted and reinterpreted throughout the ages, and how I think that I'm close to the truth, but I'm not going to be perfect in this with how I'm explaining it because again, this is the secret of the cosmos, right? So like I definitely don't have all the answers, not even close. But I did want to discuss using like a visual using visual aids, just kind of going through and trying to unpack for anyone that hasn't heard of biblical cosmology or astrotheology or theosophy, um, where it comes from, right? Within the literal heavens or the rakia or the firmament, whatever we're talking about. And these luminaries, very specific luminaries, these 7 original planets or wandering stars, these luminaries, what I think they are, the travel path they take through the zodiac belt or the Mazlot or the Mazzaroth. These 12 fixed signs or constellations that travel in an east to west direction, circular path or ring paths, with Polaris, obviously, as you know, at the center, and these luminaries as well, not traveling outward beyond these zodiacal images or signs or symbols. And they've been interpreted various different ways that I'll get into. And I'll be doing some reading because I did take some notes, so bear with me if it seems that I'm coming across as just like
Let
reading.
me let me
But I
let me
do.
just divert for 1 second. So
Oh yes,
all of the wandering stars, they circle Polaris, right?
they do.
They all
I,
circle
I
Polaris.
believe they do on ring paths.
Yeah. So they all circle Polaris, and Polaris is only special to us because our axis points to it, allegedly, of course. If our axis was tilted over here, Polaris would be way over there. And so all of the paths of the planets around the sun, they'd have nothing to do with Polaris. But for some reason, Polaris is in the center for everything. Isn't
Yeah,
that isn't that enough proof right there that the helio nonsensical system is a religion?
it absolutely is, and it's a pseudoscientific religion at that. And even Eudoxus, one of the greats for the past, who the great mathematicians, scientists, etc., like Copernicus and Aristotle, Socrates, if they even existed, they built off of his works. And he was talking about these circular or ring paths that these luminaries took, and he was very specific in saying they were not three-dimensional objects, that they were luminaries, some kind of ethereal plasma like orbs or luminaries that are travel these circular paths. And then when you map it out, amplitude versus time or degrees, it creates sine waves. And so even when they talk about the tilt of the Earth, when they say it's 23.4 degrees of a tilt, it's they're trying to explain away. And I'll get into I'm going to show a chart of that as well. But the sun's travel path through through the seasons, but through the equinoxes and solstices. So at the highest point, north latitude from the equatorial ring or belt that the sun travels, because the sun is traveling, not the Earth, it's stationary. Its furthest north latitude is 23.4 degrees, and that's when it's traveling the Tropic of Cancer, which is closest to the north or the center of the Earth. Exactly. And and during the period where we obviously have like the longest days and shortest nights, and so it only goes as far down or 23.4 degrees south latitude, which is when it's traveling the Tropic of Capricorn. And that's where it's a longer ring, so it goes faster, but again, a longer ring. And that's to kind of like balance out the 24-hour, roughly a day clock. And so when they talk about the speeds too that the sun's traveling, it's approximately 15 degrees every hour, 30 degrees every 2 hours, traveling through the astrological belt daily and annually. And which is approximately, whoever they say anywhere between like 1,030 miles per hour, 1,060, kind of like depends who you talk to, and depending on where you are on the Earth.
Right.
And that just seems to just line up with the Earth's, sorry, with the sun's travel speed, like the average.
And in the summer here in the north, when the sun is over Cancer, after sunset, it's still light for like 90 minutes. we still have light. It doesn't get dark for almost 2 hours, by the end of June. And then in the winter, when the sun's out here, when it when the sun sets, it's dark in 15 minutes. Now, that's not because the sun is farther away, because it's the same thing in the south. No matter where you are in the world, at sunset to darkness happens faster in January, December. And it takes longer in June in the northern summer. So that shouldn't be. If the earth was a ball, as our nights get longer, as our time between sunset and darkness gets longer, it should be the opposite in the south, and vice versa as it switches, if the earth was a globe. But because the sun is going faster, it's running away faster. So after sunset, it runs away faster and takes its light with it faster. That's why that changes. Again, another proof that the globe cannot explain.
And there's even stories throughout history of that as well, with the tortoise and the hare. This is the sun and the moon travel path, because the moon does have a shorter travel path or lunar calendar than the sun's solar calendar. And no, exactly right. And I could go on from there. So even the biblical references with Jesus during the winter solstice, and countless other figures throughout history, like Mithras and Dionysus and Horus and Apollo and Ra, etc. But yeah, it's a lot to unpack. So maybe I'll just show like a visual representation of just the sun, specifically the sun's travel path. But I will say that all of the seven luminaries, or original planets, whatever you want to call them, I call them luminaries. They travel within the zodiacal belt, and it's at different rotations, different rings, different like circle paths. So just again, and they're calculated differently. So with the sun, I'll start with the sun, and then I'll get into the moon, and we'll see how much time we actually have. Oh, it didn't pop up again. I have to like open up the picture itself before. Okay, so can you see this, Dave?
Yep.
I'm going to be zooming in and out of this, but
Sure.
this is if you have essentially a top-down view of Earth, and I guess the heavens as well. And so you have it where we're seeing here. If you map a compass on this astrological wheel, you have it where south is at the top, you have north at the bottom, you have east on the left-hand side, and you have west on the right-hand side. And these are cardinal points. And so like when you plot these out, these cardinal points, this makes a cross, right? So I do believe that a lot of different ancient religions and cultures using the cross, I think it's talking about the sun's travel path through through the cardinal points. And then when you see the fixed signs or zodiac images, whatever you want to call them, they form an X. And so also an X being representative, I believe, of the sun's travel path through the zodiacal belt. And so when the sun is traveling the equatorial ring, equal amount of day and night in the northern and southern regions of this contained environment, this contained cosmos, you have it where the sun's rising. Where obviously the zodiac is further away, not light years away, ladies and gentlemen, but just further away. I don't know how far, but further away. And so between 6 and 8 a.m., so traveling through like 15 degrees every hour, approximately every 2 hours, traveling through each zodiac sign. So 12 zodiac signs times 2, 24. That's where you get the 24-hour clock. But anyways, and so you have it between 6 and 8 a.m. That's where the sun's traveling through Aries, and that's and then from 8 to 10 a.m. you have it traveling through Taurus. 10 to 12. You have it traveling through Gemini, and then at 12 p.m., when the sun is at the highest point in the sky, as we perceive it or as we see it, it's transferring between Gemini and Cancer. And it's the same travel path that it takes not only daily, but annually as well, right? And then it's from 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, you have it where the sun sets usually between 6 and 8 p.m. when the sun is traveling the equatorial ring. And that's how we see it in the sky. And so even with daylight saving times, I don't understand why we do any of that stuff. And then circle here at the very top here, as the sun's traveling between Sagittarius and Capricorn, that's 12 a.m. And so just like our 24-hour clock, we also have like the seasons that are also mapped out by the sun's travel path. And the moon, again, having a different travel path because it takes less time, especially the lunar sidereal calendar.
I have a rookie question.
Yes.
When you say, each hour of the day, it's going through the different signs. Don't the signs spin with the sun? Isn't the sun like in Aries for like a month? Not just an hour? Or are we looking at a specific chart and the sun is going where we're
Great
holding
question. So I believe the constellations are fixed. And I believe that the luminaries and the other, whatever you want to call them, stars, but I call them luminaries. I think there's kind of possibly cymatics involved. I believe that they are what's traveling at least at faster speeds, much faster speeds, because even the sun, for example, it like resets its cycle every 19 years, which is where I also believe that people, like, that's where we got our age limits for people when you're considered an adult. I believe it's after like 19 years, because like that's when that the sun, I'm not too much of an expert on that, but that's what I can give you for that. And how the moon, because it's a slower travel path or cycle, it's 354 days for the lunar calendar versus 365 days, whatever you want to call it, for the solar. Because again, like leap years, non-leap years, etc., depending on the year, there's more or less days. But it takes every 33 years, if you're not adding that extra month, which people like to do, to factor in the less time the moon takes in its travel path throughout its cycle.
Which calendar do you think that we should be on? Should it be the lunar calendar?
I think both serve us in different ways. I think with the moon phases, which again are also predictable paths. So I can get into that a little bit as well. And so, and this is another thing that goes with with people saying that all these luminaries are so like as far away as they are, and saying they're differently. But like, I don't want to lose my train of thought because this gets so complicated. Can you ask me the question again? Sorry, you probably lost it too.
The question about this before, where I said that aren't the stars moving? What would the sun wouldn't move every hour?
No, there was that. Oh, I don't want to lose my train of thought, but I did. Oh yeah, the moon's travel path.
Calendar. I asked you about
the moon's travel path.
Yeah, no, I asked you about which calendar you think is the right calendar, because I have a theory.
Yes, and so what I was going to say was, even the moon's path is predictable, and so I believe that, well, every single year the new moon in December is always in Capricorn, and that's when the sun enters Capricorn as well. And then so after you have that, every new moon that follows that, for example, it follows this like that same logical path that the sun takes, right? That's predictable based off the zodiac belt. And so the next new moon would be in Aquarius, the next new moon would be in Pisces, etc. And then the full moons, December, depending on like, again, because like there's a bit of a variation in the speeds throughout the years as well, which again is very minor, but it does matter sometimes. But you'll have it where the full moon in December, when the sun is in Capricorn, but the full moon is in Cancer. So you've got that, like, also that duality as well, right? Because it's like 6 months later, you know what I mean? Like the sun is going to be in Cancer.
So is the new moon in June always over Cancer, and then the full moon in Capricorn?
The new moon would be in Cancer. I'm just gonna verify that, because I mapped all of this out, and I did it in a video like several months ago and then a few years ago. So I'm just gonna go through here, because it is a predictable. I have the phases of the moon app, and so let's go to the new moon here.
So while you're looking that up, when you said well, you don't know why they do daylight savings time, and I always say, well, it's to throw us off kilter, but I never really understood what that meant, to throw off our body clock. So we live in this dynamic system, and we're connected to everything. I used to laugh at astrology. Mars is in retrograde. How's Mars, 20, 50 million miles away, or whatever it is, going to affect you when it can't even affect our tides? That was my heliocentric thinking. But now I understand that all of this is here. We're all connected to the whole thing. And I think that they don't want us to understand how the moon cycles really affect creation. And when I say creation, our thoughts create our reality. So when there's a new moon, which there's no moon, that's when you set your intentions clearly. And then when it's waxing for 2 weeks and it's creating, you invest your emotions and into those intentions. And then when there's a full moon, you give gratitude for it already manifesting, whether you can see it or not. And then when it's waning, you release any tensions, any hangups, any issues that you have over that waning period. And if we got into that cycle, people would be able to manifest even better than they can now. And they don't want us knowing that, but the elite know that, and they know how to do things with these cycles. And so they throw us off. They change the hours. They change the number of days in a month. December is 12. It should be 10. The whole thing. So it's all to throw us off these cycles of creation, in my opinion.
I definitely agree with you on a lot of that. Sorry, I was listening and also just wanted to make sure that I had my facts right, and I do. And so the new moon in Cancer this month, and so even with that, it's the new moon is generally more often than not like the same month as as when the sun is in that is also in that sign, which is very interesting. And then the full moon in Sagittarius, the next full moon would be in Capricorn, the next full moon would be in Aquarius. And so it's just different paths with different responsibilities, like you're saying, in different ways to I guess enhance and create enhance like our own like spiritual connection to like our higher level being or whatever this is. I do believe that this is some kind of an electromagnetic reality being projected on a flat plane of inertia where we experience life within balance. And so with the moon, like you can tell by the phases, like for when to plant, when to harvest, like it's tracked by like the women's cycles. And there's also periods when the moon enters our sun sign. So for example, I'm a Capricorn. So when the moon travels through my sun sign, that's apparently a time where there's this seed or protein that's created in the sacral area or solar plexus, depending on who you look to. And then if you manage your temptations, like the 7 deadly sins, it's codified. It's the 7 deadly sins. These are sins I think that are also connected to the 7 wandering stars or luminaries, whatever you want to call them. And then the gods and goddesses that are represented by them as well. And so, for example, lust would be Venus associated with that, and you got symbols like Aphrodite and others who were part of that story. But anyway, so this travels up, and so if you do things like manage like these 7 deadly sins, or follow the 10 commandments as close as you can, or these other codes that have been created by countless other cultures and religions and in various texts and things like that, then I think that that's the way that we can access our higher levels of consciousness. And so this oil, if you resist these temptations like Jesus Christ did, I believe it's an allegory. I believe the Bible is allegorical, just like Galatians 4:24 talks about, and the physical versus the metaphysical, spiritual path that we can take versus the physical path we take. But if we don't evolve and manage our lives properly, then this oil will not go up the spine, the 33 vertebrae, whatever you want to call them, and then like this milk and honey Ida Pingala connection that they talk about. This is the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, and these secretions. If we've lived a good life during that or that month, like if we've allowed this oil to go up even just that month, because this is why people also have days of fasting and Lent, these 30-40 day periods where there's a fasting or whatever else you call it. There's so many different ways you can call it. Lent, I think I already said that, but anyway. So this is a period where you can, at least once a year, you can try to access your higher levels of consciousness. And so I hope I made sense with that. And so even with Santa Claus going up and down the chimney and flying on the reindeer, giving gifts, like I do believe there's a connection with that, and especially the time that it's talking about as well. I think there's connections there. and the claustrum. Sorry, like I totally forgot that part. And so the claustrum I believe to be the brain's brain. I believe that this is what connects us, like this avatar, to our higher level being, or whatever you want to call it. And through that, that's what regulates our brain and the thalamus, hypothalamus, and again the pituitary gland, the pineal gland. There's 12 cranial nerves as well, so there's the connection with that. Us and the zodiac signs and the calendar, this divine clock or calendar that we experience. But I went on a rant. Sorry.
All right,
I might be way off talking about this stuff. But and so this is the daily and the annual essential travel path that the sun takes, and again is different than the other luminaries. So even Venus, which is also called, depending on which culture, Dawn, Eos, Hemera, Phosphorus, Lucifer. And so there are people that misinterpret Lucifer as being a devil or evil or Satan, and this is completely incorrect. And so even when people call Lucifer an evening star or a morning star, Venus, depending on the season, will actually precede or proceed the sun as we see it in the sky, either in the evening or the morning. And so even in farmers' almanacs throughout the years, I've had farmers' almanacs for years, but it tracks these luminaries' path, right? And so these are predictable paths that they follow on an annual basis. And even Eudoxus and countless others were talking about this. And but so anyways, Lucifer. And so love correlated with I'll just look at this chart as well, but Venus connected to the color green, obviously. It's and it rules over Taurus and Libra. These are the periods of the year where we either plant seeds to grow in the northern regions where 90% of the population lives, and then in Libra, and again, these are the as it's passing through the Libra is when we harvest the food. I'm going all over the place, I think, because I can talk about this as well if I can get to it. But anyway, so Lucifer is not connected or correlated to Satan or Saturn. And so even Saturn, for example, Saturn rules over Capricorn and Aquarius. I don't know if you knew that, but anyways, it's even on this chart. You can see it here. And so Capricorn, depending on this for us within the Western Hemisphere, it's represented as a goat, and Aquarius is represented by a human. And we'll see Satan as, it's generally speaking, or the devil is seen as half goat, half human. And I think that's Satan is a play on Saturn, just like Kronos, etc. These are all just different ways of talking about Saturn and its travel path through the zodiacal belt as well. And so you have actually, I'm going to share another image now. I'm going to try to see if I can stop sharing. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share another image because it's going to make more sense that way. And if you look at Walter Russell, like his work as well on radiating and gravitational forces, it's very much in line with the sine waves that are created by the sun's travel path through this zodiacal belt. But that's for another time, maybe. So I'm getting a little nervous because when I talk about this stuff, like this is where I don't want to offend people, especially when I talk about, like, because even in the Christian religion, like I do think that there's a lot of great truths, not facts, but truths within that religion. But I do believe that there's still again, people that are taking it literally and not understanding this is allegorical based on the interpretation of the creation story. And so the sun's travel path. So when the sun is at its lowest point at 23.4 degrees south latitude, this is when it's again traveling that Tropic of Capricorn ring furthest away from us within the north. And this is where we have longer nights, shorter days, like the lowest there are. And then during the solstices, I don't know if you knew that, but during this time, because like the sun's travel path creates a sine wave, but the cosine at that time is 0 degrees declination. And so it's at that area where it looks like it's stopped or dead for 2 to 3 days every single year. It's at both solstices. And this is what I think also factors in the reason why there's differences with the sun and the moon and their travel paths, etc. But anyways, that's a whole other story. And so depending on the year, if it's a leap year or a non-leap year, or if you're following the Julian calendar versus the Gregorian calendar, it's different. But on the 21st or the 22nd of every single year, the sun will be again at its lowest point, the furthest south latitude, and it'll be that for 2 to 3 days depending on the year. And then on the third day, the sun will start its ascent from the lowest point. It will rise again, and then we'll start having slowly longer days and shorter nights until we until we travel through the spring equinox, where it's equal amount of day and night, and then we cycle back up to where we have the longest days and the longest days and shortest nights when it's at the summer solstice. And again, 2 to 3 days usually, depending on the year, where the sun is at 0 degrees declination at the cosine. Hard to explain this stuff. And where after that period, it starts its descent from the highest point. And so even in the spring, on or around the 22nd or 23rd of September of every single year, this is where we have the fall equinox. And from that point, the sun starts its descent into darkness for the fall and winter seasons. And so during the winter seasons, this is when it's the coldest. This is where animals migrate, or they hibernate, or it becomes more extreme weather conditions, more harsher climates. And throughout history, if you haven't properly prepared your harvest, or and have food available and shelter and things like that, this is periods where it's hell on earth, literally, if you're not properly prepared for it. And so this is where I think, even like when we're talking about hell being hot, I think it's cold, right? Fire and brimstone. You have fires when it's cold. And again, I do think it's just a misrepresentation of Saturn's travel path during the winter months through Capricorn and Aquarius. And so I don't think that people should be sacrificing friggin' babies intentionally and all this crazy stuff that's happening because of misinterpretation of the luminaries, right? So what people think Saturn is, and how they define him as Satan and the devil and all this disgusting stuff that's being created out of, these are people's misinterpretations of these divine luminaries in the sky. And again, Saturn being the outermost ring, whatever you want to call it, path there is, furthest away from the sun. So Lord of the Rings.
So Dawn, let me ask a question. So all of this stuff is based on, the after the solstice, people harvest or whatever. We have all these things, but like in our spring, in our northern spring, when the sun's getting higher, getting closer, it's getting farther and colder for people in the south. So do they have to do somewhat of the opposite? Do they ignore all of this because they don't harvest? They harvest 6 months apart from us, essentially.
They do. I mean, it's because again, like 90,
95% of the world lives in the north, basically, something like that.
Yeah, they do. And so you have people that live in like really austere conditions, right? These are extreme conditions that where there's not really, like really the possibility at this point to have life, to create life. And so even in the northern regions of Canada, for example, like I've been to the Yukon and back, and I talked to Indigenous people from these different tribal areas in the north, and it's really difficult to grow any plants in these areas, but they've been able to cultivate or be able to find like seeds that are able to withstand like these extreme weather conditions in order to actually grow. But again, more money should be invested in these types of projects like you're talking about, like where we have extreme conditions, but if people are willing to live in these areas, by their own accord, like informed consent and stuff like that, then investing in ways that we can have these like these areas where we can grow more food, and things like that, so people can further thrive in these environments. And you would need like ecosystems, so you would need things like trees and plants and animals and insects and everything we're killing off. But so we need to be doing the opposite of that. And but yeah, and so there's areas on Earth that I think that are more optimally suited for humans to exist. And if you look at the equatorial area, if you map it out linearly, if you would want to call it that, you can see like the Fertile Crescent areas are generally like in and around close to that when it's like traveling through that equatorial area, right? So like that's again harmony, balance, and synergy, whatever you want to call it, when the sun is traveling that equatorial path, equal amount of day and night, etc. And And so the further away you get from those from that belt or that ring or that region, the harder it's going to be, I think, to survive or live or thrive, unless you can simulate very similar environments and ecosystems and whatever you want to call it beyond that.
Okay.
And I think that people have lived and still possibly do live underwater, underground, you know, and possibly,
I agree with that.
yeah, there's a lot of different like advanced civilizations that lived underground. And this is where a lot of different energy systems are being stored as well. It's optimal temperature. It's cool. Really good air quality in these areas as well. But yeah, there's a lot of advanced ancient technologies and sciences and mathematics that used to be taught in the past and we had access to. But I think that this is stuff that we've either lost a lot of the well, I mean, it's not being taught in the schools, that's for sure. There's certain occult groups that like to talk about this stuff, but I still think, obviously, just by virtue of what they're doing in the world, they're not really understanding like the full depth of astrotheosophy and cosmology, and because even the Satanists, like why are you doing like all this shit? You know what I mean? Just sorry for swearing, because because of Saturn. I don't know, something that was created by God. So did I properly explain this? This is like, again, the sun's travel path that creates a sine wave, just like the other luminaries do in the skies on a daily and annual basis. It's a very predictable path. And I'm going to stop sharing that because I wanted to I had notes. I'm just going to push this down here. I just want to see if there's any other images I wanted to share that I can talk about. Yeah, I could show Walter Russell's. So this is an example of, because I think this is some kind of an electromagnetic reality, and I think that the moon is possibly electric, and I think that the moon, or more electromagnetic, but more, and again, sonoluminescent star in a jar, and I think the moon is more magnetic, and I think that there's like a gravitational radiating forces within this cosmos being expressed via light and sound, including the visible and non-visible light spectrum and sound spectrum. And yeah, these pushing and pulling forces, centripetal versus centrifugal. And even Walter Russell with this gravitation
Right.
and radiation, you'll see like I don't think that there's any coincidence to it. I think this is connected.
I believe we live in this toroidal electromagnetic system. We're electromagnetic beings. The sun is electric. The moon is magnetic. And we're electromagnetic. This plane of inertia right here, which you spoke of, is where physical reality exists. So it's 1% of the system, maybe 1%, right? The rest is non-physical, spiritual. And we can only speculate and guess and look at evidences, but this is where everything happens. This is where, we have our physical realities. This is where, this is what we call Earth, this dielectric plane. And anything else is questionable. It's questionable what it really is, because we don't know. We really, as Crow 777 Radio says, the only thing you could say about the lights in the sky, the stars, moon, sun, comets, anything, is that they're lights. That's the only thing you can say. For example, how deep? So this is a person holding this. How far deep is that window in the back?
Yeah, to me, I could see that's possibly because perception is reality. It could be two-dimensional. It could just be like just how the shading and the texture and the contrast is within the image.
Look, he's moving, he's turning. I mean,
yeah, and there could be depth just based on the like
right.
my angle of view or whatever.
My point is, we can look at things and you can't twist this around. But if I show you what it really is, it's that. And once it points towards you, it turns into a hallway and you can no longer see it pointing towards you. This is closer than this, but you can't undo it in your mind, because that's how we're taught to see, right? And then see these boxes, are they moving apart? Are they moving up and down?
See, I'm trained to look at things in multiple different ways, and so
Right.
like I could think that they're possibly standing still.
I'm going to put my
And
finger on this corner, and no matter what, they're
yeah.
rotating, they're getting bigger and small. No, they're not. They're staying exactly
Mhm.
where they are. Right? I'll hold this corner right here. It's not moving to the left. It's not moving to the right. It's not moving up, but it sure looks like it's moving up. It looks like it's rotating, but it's not. I'm holding my finger right there. And you can't unsee that. You can't unsee that. How about this one? Which table is longer and thinner? This one or this one?
You see,
Are they both the same size? Is one
they
longer,
can
one
both be the
thinner?
same. I'm going to say same size. I actually don't know. I'm
But
just going to
but
say
can
same
you
size.
see that they're the same size, or you cannot see that they're the same size?
If I'm looking at it in an untrained eye, I'm going to say that the one on the left looks longer and thinner.
Right. So I'm going to put a little piece of paper here showing you that's the size of that table, and it's the same size as that table too. But even though that I showed you the illusion, you can't unbreak it. So when people look up at the sky and say, "Oh, we know what the sun is. We know how far these stars are," we don't know anything. So check this out. You see, this is Stanford Hospital right here. It's a gigantic building. See how big it is? It's a big building, about 5 miles away, maybe less. And as you get closer to it, it should get bigger. But as we get closer, it's going to get so small that you almost can't see it. So I'm just riding through here. Look how small it's getting. Wait, it's not done. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And when you do this in person and don't film it, it's even more dramatic. Look at it. You almost can't see it. It's almost just blending in with the trees. I'm just riding towards it, holding the camera, facing it. Look how small it got. People say, well, why is the moon and the sun so big at the horizon if the earth is flat? Is it? It's the same
Yeah,
size.
I know.
It's the same size.
There's no physical geographic horizon
Right.
either. I keep saying that to people as well.
Right.
Like there needs to be some kind of a downward slope in order to create this imaginary ball curve that you're saying this Earth plane is.
So see how this is narrower than this, right? Is that a rectangle? It's really not. It's a parabola. Is that the size? So check this out. This is spinning in a circle. It's not doing this. This appears to be just spinning back and forth. It's actually spinning in a circle. Let me show you. Watch this. So there's this thing. Now you can see it's a parabola. And we're going to stick a pen through the window and just tape it on there. And then we're going to spin it. And you think that would break the illusion, right? So we stick the pen in there. We glue it on. It's going to twist the string up. And it's going to spin in a circle. And you're going to see it do this. Your mind will not let you see that it's spinning in a circle, but the pen should break the illusion. So here goes. He's spinning it. It's going to start spinning. So it's just spinning clockwise. Watch what happens. Can you even make sense of that?
It's are you familiar with Stinky Cash,
Oh yeah.
Jeff? Do you? I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know what your
He
relationship
doesn't.
is
He
with
doesn't
him.
like me. He doesn't like me. But it's okay.
Oh no!
It's
Why
all right.
not?
It's a long
Anyway,
story.
that's too
Long
bad.
story.
I haven't talked to him in a while either. But
Yeah.
anyway, he has this video, and it's regarding. It's essentially like why we see the vanishing point the way we do. I don't know if you can pull that up, but just because you've done great videos on that as well with what's just explaining our vanishing point, our perception being reality. But he talks about concave versus convex lenses, and so when you have a concave lens, it's divergent light that is going to be dispersed through it, and with a convex, it's convergent light. And so this is why with our eyeballs we have like the lens where it's actually converging light that we're perceiving this reality in. And so I think there's something to that as well. And so talking about the toroidal fields, just to go about a completely separate topic, just because regarding the toroidal fields, people are trying to allege that it's called these the radiation belts or the Van Allen belts, and it's because these ionized gases, whatever you want to call them, these lighter elements or particles that I believe to be magnetically charged versus electrically charged, because based on the ionization process, you're losing electrons. But anyways, so you have like things like helium and hydrogen ionized that make up like the majority of what we're calling the radiation Van Allen belts, which is what contains this environment, and obviously others as well, but to lowering degrees, and yeah, and so I think that also within this cosmos, we have to factor in things like temperature, pressure, but also when I talk about density, it's hard to explain because it also means that, like, what do you call it, like density or like a particle or matter or a molecule, or some kind of like a positively charged particle versus a negatively charged particle, and then with temperature and pressure, obviously the higher up you go in elevation, less pressure, and the lower you go, especially in water, like this increase in pressure, you can't go really low in water without your ears popping or whatever you want to call it. And then temperature as well. So if the water's frozen, then that's redundant. Like nothing you can do about it, right? There's different states of matter as well, and so obviously we have the solid, liquid, gas, and then plasma. I don't know if you agree with that or not, with like there being 4 different states of matter.
I think so. I think I agree with that. I mean, I'm not an expert on that topic, but
Yeah,
it
it's complicated.
makes a lot of sense. You're talking about perspective and the vanishing point. So we're taught that the sky ramps down, the ground ramps up, the sides ramp into your vanishing point. But what they don't teach you is that the back ramps forward, right? So I have these pencils on the floor a foot apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's like 25 of them going all the way up to the shelf, right? So if I bring the camera down, you're going to see that what happens to my foreground, right? So imagine these are all boats on the horizon or whatever, boats on the water. So when I go down here, let me get all the way down. All right. So I'm down. So here's 1, 2, let's go to 3, the white one. So that covers more than half of this range of field. And the rest are all getting jammed into here. So, from here, there's another 10 or 15 beyond where my finger is here. But you can't see that because all of that gets compressed. That's why I call the horizontal eye zone. Right?
Yeah.
So here is a picture. I got my drone up. And from here to the shoreline here is about, let's call it 2 miles. From here, and now if I zoomed in, you can see the Whitestone Bridge over here, which is 20 miles farther. Okay. So from here to here is 2 miles, less than 2 miles. And then from here to here, I'm not even moving my finger, is another 20 miles, maybe 25 miles.
Yeah, we could see too far, and just like we're saying, Crow 777s, especially with this infrared, I mean, it's irrefutable, like in my humble opinion. And
wait, no, one other thing. So from here to this pier out here is 200 yards, and from here to where these clouds look like to be touching the water, is 20 or 30 miles. Okay, so what people don't understand is things go into the horizon. The sky goes far beyond our ability to see across the land, right? So that from there to where the yellow one is going is 100 times farther, even worse.
Yep. So
there you go. That's my crappy graphics example.
It's actually, I'll also share as well, just so people can see it. Like you've shared this so many times. I think this is just the Pythagorean model. Why is it not sharing? What is that? I don't want that one. It keeps on bouncing me out every time I try to share this one. It's very interesting that it does not want me to show this. No, that's not what I wanted to show. God damn it. Pythagoras. Sorry, Dave. I'm holding you up.
That's okay. That's all right.
I just want to show the. If I can't find it, then I'm on the right page though. If I can't find it, but it's the Earth. There we go. Okay, so hopefully this comes up. All right, sorry. So this is what they allege to be the, and this is globe Earth math, right? And so Pythagorean proof of curvature for a ball with a radius, and again, it's a fixed radius and diameter that they're using, and of being approximately 3,959 miles in radius, and less than 8,000 miles in diameter. And so if you look here, Dave, I know this is so redundant for you, but
That's all right.
anyway.
No, it's
So,
good.
so
I got something to follow this up.
yeah, because there's people still like even on social media, people are sharing actual the math and how much alleged curvature they were supposed to be, and people are not even looking at it and they're saying you're wrong, your math doesn't line up, and it's like actually it does, because it's 8 inches per mile squared. And so this woman that I was I commented on, but she was at 10 miles, it's you would
66 feet at 10 miles. Show me
yes
66 feet of curvature
yeah
at 10 miles, and then I'll tell you I was wrong.
Yeah, and so I mean, is it because they can't do the basic math, right? Because like 8 inches per mile squared, square the mile, 100 times 8 for the inches, 800 divided by 12, and so you have to break it down, and that's so other people are not just dismissing it, because people are too lazy to do their own math, their own research before they troll, right? And so the same thing at 20 miles, it would be over 266 feet of alleged curvature.
Yeah.
We see way too far. And I'll stop sharing this, but
let me show you that. Let me show you this. So wherever you are, if you're on a ball, everything should go down and away. So whatever direction you look, things should just go down, down, down. They shouldn't go up, right? They should just go the farther you are away. So you'll ask a glober, is this Earth curvature here? And they'll say, yes, of course it is, right? So the question is, if I place two boats in here, step out of the way. So I got a boat here and a farther boat here, right? Bigger boat, it's farther, right? Why is that boat higher, right? Why is this boat higher than this boat? If the Earth is curving down and away, you should be at the highest point. And everything should be curving down and away.
Yeah.
So hold on, watch where this is going. So if we get rid of the boats, and I'm going to transition into a hallway. Now, we know that the hallway is level, and it goes to the vanishing point. The walls ramp in, but I'll merge that with the ocean, and it does the exact same thing, right? They'll admit that the hallway is flat, but they'll say that this is Earth curve, that it's literally humping up and going over, and this is the Earth curve. So I'll put the boats back in here, and I'll remove the ocean and just have them in the hallway. And it's the exact same thing. So is the ocean the same as the hallway?
Yes.
All right. So what about the sun? So I just got a random sunset time lapse, and I just laid it over, and magically it follows the exact path of the hallway. Here's another one. It just follows the same path as the hallway. So is this curved, or is it just going away and looking like it goes down, just like the hallway looks like it goes down?
Yep, I love this.
People say, well, where does it go? We see it, right? Well, this line here that looks like it's at your eye level is actually thousands of feet above your eye level, and the sun just goes beyond it. So we got these streetlights here. We know that the streetlights aren't going below the curve of the Earth. And I'm going to throw a truck in here, I think. I think I put this one with a truck. So if I put a truck, where is it? Second. Oh, no, I'm just fading this out. So the streetlights also match the hallway and the sun's path. We know that they're going straight and away. So another example of straight and away. And did I show the example with the truck? I don't think I did in this one, actually. So again, all of these things act the same. Certain things we know 100% are straight, like the street lights and the hallway, but they all look like exactly what we see over the ocean. Pretty interesting.
And also the I just want to make sure
here's the
oh yeah, and so with what they're talking about regarding like the radius and the diameter and the circumference of the Earth allegedly being 24,901 miles or 40,000 kilometers, I believe that this is the sun, again, its travel path they're measuring, and it's unrelated to the size of the Earth. And so I did want to share just one more image,
Let
maybe.
me just show you this real quick. So this
Oh
is a
yes.
time lapse of the sun going away. So where's it going? So this here is where the atmosphere just becomes opaque. This line here is not at your eye level. It's well above your eye level, and the sun is just going beyond it. So the example I use is I'll put a truck here, and the truck is blocking these lights. If I move the truck farther away, it's blocking those lights. If I move it farther away and farther away, it eventually just becomes the horizon. You can't even see the truck anymore. And things just go beyond the truck. That's it. It's that simple.
I was going to share,
Good.
and you probably have as well. And then before we end, I did want to talk a little bit about the biblical connections. What was I going to?
Let's do that.
Oh yes, it's just regarding ancient civilizations from the past, whether we consider them to be advanced or not. But I did verify this with different AI platforms, and to confirm that these were in fact like interpretations of different societies regarding this creation or cosmos, whatever you want to call it. And so if you look at, and you've seen this before, Dave, but it's like this is NASA's interpretation of this cosmos, this Earth. But if you look even within the Greek, the Navajo, Babylonian, Hebrew, Celtic, Mayan, Japanese, Sumerian, Egyptian.
Everybody but NASA. Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Contained environment, some kind of a pressurized, gaseous. I mean, there's all the states of matter are within, but like contained environment with the luminaries above us, smaller than the obvious than this flat stationary Earth, and traveling on these different paths, but again within a contained environment and within, and the sun and the moon being approximately the same size and being their own, being self-luminescent. And so I don't think that the sun reflects its light on any other luminaries. I believe it's its own individual great light, the greatest of the lights, and the lesser of the lights being the moon, and the other luminaries again being more cymatics, not sonoluminescence, is what causes their light. And so different. So even with Jesus Christ, because again with the Christian religion, this is more like I'm more familiar with. But we have Jesus, and even with the Passover, with that painting that was made, you have it where I've interpreted this on social media. But you have the 12 apostles, and you have it where as they're seated, they're divided by like the signs and the seasons, and each individual disciple or apostle represents one of the 12 zodiac signs, and with very subtle clues as to like his connection, understanding astrotheosophy, and its ties to Christianity, or where Christianity is getting its creation story from, essentially. And so you have that 12, and then you have even with the 12 tribes of Jacob, or Israel, as you know, which is what God called Jacob. So that these 12 tribes was called, it was Jacob first, and then Israel. So Isis, Ra, El. So you even have, even from like Canaanite, Egyptian, Babylonian, more ancient, what people classify as pagan religions. I don't call it that way, but that where Isis, Ra, and El were used to form Israel. So that's moon, sun, and God, right? El being in some ancient civilizations believing that El was God, or Brahma, or Allah, or others, and there's that connection. And so and then misinterpretation of like when you add a female, that adds 13. And so even with the 12 tribes of Israel, there was a 13th child of Jacob or Israel, which was Dinah. And so this is where also I believe, and there's a moon connection with that as well. And so there's so many different similarities between so many different religions or cultures, where they're looking at, you know, the 12 titans. There's 12. There's so many different 12s that I listed, but I could go through. But I know we're already running late. But even with the moon and these 13, the connection of the number 13 with the moon, or these lunar cycles, and then Ophiuchus is also often mentioned in these older traditions as well, but with the moon's travel path, right, and not the sun's. And so these are two different things, I think, and but explaining the creation story through the ages. And even Jesus, je suis, so I am, I think, therefore I am, by Descartes. And so like I do believe that like the interpretation of Jesus or Mithras or Dionysus or Horus or Apollo or so many others I can speak of, I believe that like if we travel a path of true enlightenment here on earth and manage resist these temptations or learn the lessons of our religions, like the accurate lessons, don't interpret religion in a way where you're causing harm when you should be causing good, then it's going to be a divine path, right? If that makes any sense. And so heaven and hell can be experienced on earth.
What people don't realize is we're in a war, and people think this is a physical war between men. But if you look at Ephesians 6:12, it says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realm." We are in a spiritual war. Do you know how you win a spiritual war? You teach people that it doesn't exist. You hide God. You hide the truth, and you have people just fighting for flesh and blood when that's not the case at all. I think that if you look at the evil in this world, the people that are just doing and saying horrible things, this is spiritual. They may not even be in control of their own bodies at this point, and it's literally a spiritual war. And again, once you know that, once you understand how this world first doesn't work and how it does work somewhat, you can only win. You can win because nobody can take that away from you. But if they convince you that we're just physical flesh and blood, and everything is me, now, gimme, more material, then it's going to be a rough ride for you.
Well said. I see it that way as well. I do agree. I noticed we're at the 1 hour mark. That was great. I could have covered a lot more, like this, my chart and stuff, but I feel that maybe this is just maybe enough.
I think we're good. Do you have any final points you want to finish up with?
No, if anyone's more interested in any of this stuff, I have done a number of videos on it on my Rumble channel, Dawn189, and
okay.
And then I do share some stuff on Instagram. So it's Dawn Dussault is my name.
All right. I'll link all of that below when I upload.
And that's it. I really appreciate you having me on, Dave.
Yeah, no problem, Dawn. Good to talk to you. Good to catch up.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Thanks.